Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Erica Schmerica Reality Recap. Today, we're going to be talking about 90 Day Fiance Season 8, Episode 16, The Wedding. Can't wait to talk about it. So first up today is Natalie and Big Mike. So Natalie and Big Mike, last week, they had decided that Natalie was going to go back to the Ukraine. She had that dramatic exit. Neighbor Tamara drove her to Seattle. They had to go back because Mike had put a hotel room for her on his credit card, and they forgot the credit card. So she had to go back and see Mike. He asked for the ring. That was all a mess. So she's crying. Poor Tamara had to sit in a car with her at like level 10 for Fatal Attraction the whole car ride to Seattle. And then they get to the hotel only to be denied because that's not how things work. You have to have the person whose name appears on the credit card standing there. They're not going to just let you use whoever's credit card to book a hotel. And they only seem to try that one hotel for some bizarre reason. There probably was some kind of an hourly along the way. I'm sure they could have asked Uncle Bo. Just saying. So they ended up driving back to Zeeed because Natalie had nowhere else to go. And poor Tamara, she said that her house was really full, too full to fit Natalie and her 7 personalities. So she had to go back to Mike that night. They slept in separate bedrooms. And then the next morning they came out filming themselves because it was during coronavirus. So they had to film themselves individually and then together talking about their breakup, if it even really happened that way. It seemed just really strange because didn't he book her a flight to France and wouldn't he have been more concerned that she didn't get on the flight? I digress. So they sat there, they're talking. Mike's still maintaining his whole standpoint, I wasn't ready, just too quick, It's just, I don't know, just not ready. And Natalie, just with her crazy stare, was like, so we have wedding or no? And I mean, her visa expires in 2 days. So the only conclusion they could come to is that they should call an immigration lawyer. Brilliant. Who should have thought of that? Everyone, 6 weeks ago, not 2 days before it expires. Anyway, Mike's trying to prolong it. For some reason, for somebody who doesn't like her so much, he really wants her to stay. And it can't be the cooking because let's be honest, he's not that into carrots. So he calls the immigration lawyer. They're on Skype, and Natalie, she's getting more emotional about it. Mike's just asking about the options. The poor immigration lawyer is totally overwhelmed because the two of them just keep fighting and treating her like she's some kind of marriage counselor. But she tells them it's in their best interest to get married so that Natalie stays legal and that everything goes through with the visa. Mike's not so crazy about what he hears and still maintains he's not ready and he needs to think about it. So with only a few hours to go for her visa, it's really any man's game right now to see what's going to happen. And at this point, she should probably just marry Uncle Bo. Then there were Yara and Jovi. So Yara and Jovi had a big fight last week. They seem to have made up in their hotel room once they were, alone together. And it seems as though they're getting along for the time being. Could change at any minute. They were gambling, doing a little blackjack. Jovi was losing a little bit of money. I would say he was losing his wedding shirt, but he didn't have one. So that brings us to the next point was they had to go run all of these wedding errands because nobody bothered to do that anytime before this time. So they actually went ring shopping and they went to a jeweler. Jovi's mom, Gwen, came with them. And Yara, of course, picks out something super sparkly and pretty expensive. Jovi's thinking about how many lap dances that's going to set him back, but he, appeases her. He agrees to get it. If it's going to keep her quiet and stop them fighting for 5 minutes, then why not? Jovi picks something up in 30 seconds. He's good to go. Then he goes tuck shopping. Oh, I forgot to mention that Jovi's mom was totally Team Yara with the rings. She was all Team Yara. And I think it was a little sucking up. I do think it was a little bit sucking up because she probably wants to meet her grandkid. So she's got to stay on Yara's good side. Then Jovi went tuck shopping with his dad and his friend because why not get your wedding outfit the day before? And the very helpful sales clerk helped him out. She hooked him up with the Johnny Cash look, which looked pretty good on him. And, she gave him one rule, and that was just don't puke on the tux. And I think maybe she's more on point than Psychic Maria, because how did she even know that that was probably going to happen? So, Jovi's friends and his family are like, "Oh, you sure you're ready to marry Yara?" And I mean, it's a little late for that. I mean, not if you're Mike, but if you're Jovi and you have a baby coming. So they put kind of a little doubt in his head, but I think it was really more just like a hook to keep us interested because whatever, kind of lukewarm about the whole situation. I'm sure she's going to look great and very sparkly next week, so I'm excited for that. Next up are Team Tarzal. So Team Tarzal were getting ready for their big wedding this week at the ARE, the Psychic Center, which is a great place to have a wedding because you don't have to write down if your guests are having chicken or fish. They already know. Anyway, so they were getting ready. Tariq's brother flew in from Salt Lake City, which was really great because So Brandon and Julia were back this week. It was finally getting close to the wedding, and Brandon and Julia had a little talk about their relationship outside as Julia was preparing her bridal bouquet. Also, she was wearing cat ears because that's a great way to have any serious conversation about your relationship. So after they seemed to make up, Brandon surprised her pre-wedding eve with a little bubble bath that he made, a little DIY spa day in Betty's bathtub, where he must have taken her like special shampoo for perm treated hair and made extra bubbles in the water for Julia, set up some tea lights, and the two of them got in there for an enjoyable evening, which will probably cause Betty to have to go out and buy more Drano. Anyway, the next day was time to get ready for the wedding. The whole family was rushing around. Ron took out his obligatory black suit that works for a wedding or a funeral. And probably had to deal in all the dog hair off, make sure there's no crickets in the pocket. Julia was wearing this cute little short dress and she matched it with a tiara, which was very Swan Lake. But then she also had on socks and sneakers, maybe just in case she wanted to make a quick getaway. Not sure. But then she had a little jean jacket on top, which kind of turned into this 80s Madonna thing. Anyway, they both looked nice. Brandon had on like a patterned shirt with a bow tie and a suit jacket. He looked good. I think he looked pretty good. A little bit like a ventriloquist dummy, but in a good way, if that's possible. And their ceremony was actually really cute because they took the time to actually write their own vows and then say them in the other person's language. Brandon blew everybody away with his Russian. He did great. While Betty was like on the sidelines videotaping the whole thing, like, "You're doing great, sweetie." But everything seemed to go smoothly for them. They looked really happy. Julia seemed to be really impressed and think the whole thing was really cute and romantic. And yeah, congratulations to Mr. and Mrs. Brandon. Then there were Rebecca and Zeeed. So Rebecca and Zeeed they were at their venue, which was the cabin type of place. Zeeed was in their Lovebirds 2 suite, getting his hair ready, which is super important. It takes about a half an hour to get that to perfection. Meanwhile, Rebecca went with her daughter Tiffany to have her makeup done, and who I'm presuming to be the blonde girl that she didn't like a few episodes ago to do her hair. So as a hairstylist, I have to critique that her hair was curled inward to her face, which caused the same volume effect as the pigtails from the other weeks. It was not doing her any favors. And then her bangs were perfectly flat. I guess she didn't have time to touch up the roots. That's okay. We don't always have time to touch up the roots. But it's also her wedding day. I digress. Most importantly, the dress didn't fit. Now she knew that going into it, and she could have just picked something up at Target when they made a fun run. However, she decided to remedy the situation by putting a corset on top of it. So if she was so worried about getting something on time, I don't know, she had like a white lacy corset that just matched the color of her dress laying around, but the old Georgia Detention Center, but she did. So she threw this corset on top. The straps were too long. They were fighting with the halter strap on her dress. Her boobs were up to like her chin, and she just looked a little iconic. I'm going to just call it iconic. I mean, this is just one for the books. So she was taking a horse-drawn carriage because she didn't want to draw any attention to herself with it being her fourth wedding and all. And I'm not sure if it's the same horse-drawn carriage she used with her ex from Morocco. However, she probably didn't have any time to call Sandra Celli to make her wedding dress since it was like my big factory wedding over here. But anyway, Zeeed was so excited. We all knew that no matter what she was wearing, and she was really wearing something, that Zeeed was going to be like, oh, so perfect, so much sexy, so beautiful, so perfect. Rebecca, I love. So he did. He was very happy to see her. She was escorted down the aisle by her son-in-law to be, Micah, and his friend, I guess, or his coworker at Tractor Supply. It looked like the two of them came over on their lunch break. However, it was very lovely. They had a nice time. Her friend Melanie, who I was pretty convinced she didn't like anymore, from 90 Day Bears All, I'm pretty sure she said that. She was running around taking pictures like she owned the joint. Maybe she was like passive aggressively taking pictures from different angles because that dress was out of control. Not really sure on that, but it looked like they had a lovely ceremony. Zeeed was super excited they were married before Ramadan, and all is well at the Georgia Detention Center. This week we're Andrew and Amira, but I'm totally okay with that. Are you? I'm guessing yes. And also missing were Ryan, Cousin Harris, and Stephanie. That to me is unacceptable. We need Stephanie. Where did she go? I am telling you, Ryan, we need Stephanie to carry this whole crazy mess that we have going on. I hope they get married because I want to see her dress. I want to see if she's going to wear that curtain dress. I just need to know. Thanks so much for joining me for this week's episode of 90 Day Fiance Season 8, Episode 16, Erica Schmerica's Reality Recaps. If you haven't done so already, please make sure to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I'll see you all next week. Bye!